Okay, what I'm going to talk about now is how we make grape wine. I've been out this morning collecting some grapes, and we have enough grapes in here. See, there's a black grapes. Have enough grapes in here to make 1 gallon. We've got about 12 pounds weight.
Right, okay.
Okay. Now, the usual way of making grape wines, which you'll find in the textbooks, you squeeze the grapes. You add a certain quantity of water to make up to 1 gallon, and then you add a Camden tablet or two to kill any wild yeasts or bugs that you don't want to be in there. I don't like using Camden tablets, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to rely on a very thorough washing of the grapes, so that anything that we don't want in there is just simply washed away. This is a bit more time consuming, but I think it gives a better wine, certainly for the amateur anyway.
Okay, Nigel.
So, what I'm going to do...
right, so basically what we're going to do, you're going to see Nigel working away with his hands. I'm going to position the camera on the tripod, so you won't see his face, you'll hear him talking, and you'll see what he's doing. Okay,
okay, that's fine. Yep.
Go.
Okay, first thing to do then is to put on the water supply, and then I'm going to start washing the grapes. This bunch here, you can see there are a few green ones. We don't want those in. If they're very tiny grapes that are green, then they have virtually no flavour. But if they are 3/4 size and they're green, they're very tart and they will impart flavours to the brew. So if you have biggish green grapes, get rid of them.
Okay. And are these grapes your own, or were they passed on to you?
They were passed on to me by a friend who has a very large grapevine but doesn't know what to do with the fruit.
Okay.
And this is quite common. Most villages have 1 or 2 people with enormous grapevines that just don't know what to do when the fruiting season comes round. So we're removing any green grapes or any that have got mould.
Okay. While we're on the subject of grapes, can these grapes be eaten like the ones bought in the supermarket, or are they purely for wine?
Well, these are winemaking grapes. They can be eaten. They're quite sweet, but they're pippy.
Ah, right.
Would you like to try one?
Yeah,
See
sure.
what you think.
We don't like pips though, do we, folks?
No.
I know I don't. I always look for pipless. So.
And I'm throwing the grapes out of sight to you, but I can see they're going into my fermentation bin.
It tastes lovely, folks.
Yeah.
I'm even going to swallow the pip. I hope it don't grow.
So to recap then, the purpose of doing all this washing is to remove unwanted organisms. And I'm not using a chemical steriliser because it imparts off flavours to the wine.
Is it partly down to you preferring organic produce as well, or is that just...
Well, I'm not sure. I think that might have something to do with it, but I can definitely taste sulphur in a lot of commercial wines. And some people are sensitive to... Well, it's not really sulphur, it's actually metabisulfite, a chemical compound. But once you recognise the flavour and you notice it in commercial wines, it does put you off a bit.
Okay.
Right, now this is going to take a few minutes to do, and it's not going to be that interesting. So I suggest what we do is turn the camera off for, say, the next 5 minutes, and then when I've got most of them done, we'll switch it back on again, and we'll resume from there, resume the video.
Okay then, Nigel. Okay folks, we're back in.
Yeah, we're just finishing the grapes. These grapes seem to be a nice sample. There's very little mould. I'm not really sure how clean we have to be with doing grapes like this, because there is a story that in Germany once, the worst ever harvest, where all the grapes had gone mouldy, actually gave the best wine for many years.
Oh, okay. And you're actually trying this out with one batch, aren't you, this year?
Yeah, the neighbour, I'm making some wine with him. He's got a vine of Alicante Boucher, which is a black grape with pink juice. and the grapes are not good quality. So we split them into 2 batches. One which we've washed very, very thoroughly, the best grapes, and then the other half we haven't really washed them much at all. They're mouldy, unpleasant, don't look very good, but we've added sugar and yeast, and we're getting the mixture fermenting as quickly as we can, and we're hoping that the yeast will overpower and outbreed any bacteria in the mixture. So we're just doing it as an experiment to see if you've got really not very nice grapes, if you can get a decent brew.
Okay.
Right, and that's nearly done those.
So this is, am I right in saying this is about £12 of grapes?
Yeah, £12 of grapes makes about a gallon. You can get away with £10,
right, okay.
But 12 is better.
How come that you need more quantity than other wines what we make? Is it?
That's an interesting question.
Is it down to when you start? Do you start using your feet to crush them, or is it? Can you get a bit of...
Well, the container isn't big enough for that. I think I'd burst the container. But what I'm going to do to get the juice out, the normal way that I do it is I've got some yellow gloves here that are pretty clean. I'm going to just squeeze the grapes. I'm going to add a small amount of liquid, and to £12 of grapes, what I usually do, I add 3 pints of water.
Okay.
Now, the purists among you that only use grape juice will sort of won't like that very much, but I've found over the years that if I'm going to get a good wine, I've got to be able to stir the grapes in the mixture, and if you can't stir it, you won't get a good fermentation.
Okay.
And I found about 3 pints of water to £12 of grapes is about right. So let's get 3 pints of water. You might like to lift the camera off now, Julie, if you can, and aim it. Oh, where shall I put this? Let's put this here where you can. Can you focus on that? Okay.
I can, sure.
Yeah.
I can. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put 3 pints of water in there. Now you can see that fermentation bucket is nearly full, but when I squeeze the grapes, you'll see. Oh, is that okay like that?
Yeah.
Now when I squeeze them, you'll see the volume roughly halves. I'm not particularly fussy about getting every last drop of juice out. I'm just trying to reduce the volume. And the reason is that when this is finished fermentation, probably after 10 days to a fortnight, what I shall then do, I'll take all the skins out, and I shall put the skins in a different container, and I shall find another brew that I've got, the same size as this one, and I shall take the skins out of that one as well, and put those into the same container, and then I will add more sugar, and I shall make a second brew just from the skins, and it usually turns out to be nearly as good as the first brew.
Right.
You have to add a little bit of extra fruit to increase the body. I shall probably add some bananas, but the second fermentations are well worth doing. Right, now you can see the volume, that was nearly full.
Yeah.
And now it's gone to a nice slushy mix. I'm just going to lick my fingers to see what the taste is like, and it's not bad. Not bad at all.
So how come you're wearing marigold gloves then, Nigel? Is it because they leave a dye to your hands, or is it for hygiene, or is it because you make that much wine and that you can
It's obviously the hygiene.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the hygiene. Oh, and if you've got scratches on your fingers, grape juice is fairly acidic, so it stings after a while.
Okay.
So, yeah, but it's hygiene.
Okay, that's great.
Right, now what have I got to do? So, done that. Now I need some sugar. Right, I'll find some sugar. To start with, you don't put in too much sugar, you just want enough to start the fermentation off. Now eventually that brew will probably contain about 2.5, possibly 3 pounds of sugar.
Okay.
So I'm going to put in...
Can I just quickly ask you something? Do you have shares in a sugar company? You know, you must use quite a lot during the year.
Yeah, quite a lot, yeah. Last year we made about 30 gallons and you need about £3 per gallon, so...
90 bags.
90 pounds.
Yeah. £2, but so 45 bags.
Yeah, but you can get quite big bags and you don't need so many.
Right, okay.
Right, so we want about half that, a pound of sugar to start with, so I'll just tip that in. Okay, that looks like a pound. And now I need to stir it. And if I've got the consistency correct, the right amount of water, it should be possible to stir this. I'll just put my foot there. Oh, there we go. I'll just push that down a bit, and then I will a little bit light on. Oh, there it goes. It's stirring. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
If you can't stir it, you need to add a little drop more water.
Okay.
That's fine. So that's the first part of the sugar in, about a pound of sugar. And now straight away we put in the yeast so that it will overcome any spoilage organisms that get in there. And I've got a cider brew here, so I'm going to take out some of the yeast from that.
Have you made much cider this year, Nigel?
I've made about 2 gallons.
Alright.
So I'll just take out a little bit of this. These are pieces of apple that are soaked in cider and yeast. And this should be fizzing away happily by probably the day after tomorrow. Right, put the top back on the cider. You mustn't be tempted to make wine with grapes and add no sugar. You must add sugar if the grapes are English grapes. Because
is that because they don't get enough sunshine?
Yeah, they don't get enough sunshine, and so what happens is you'll get if you don't add any sugar, you'll get a very dry wine with an alcohol content of probably 5 or 6%. It'll be almost undrinkable because it will...
What's the normal strength of wine?
Well, anything between about 11% and 15% these days.
Right. Okay.
Some of the sweet German wines are about 9%,
right.
But the problem is if you have an alcohol content that's too low, then the solution may be attacked by bugs.
Right.
And the high alcohol helps the bugs to be overcome by the yeast and
get drunk, you mean?
Well, yeah, sort of. But low alcohol wines, which are too dry, have a tendency to get invaded by bacteria, and they may actually turn into vinegar, and that's the last thing we want.
Yeah.
So that should be fine in about, say, 2 days. So I'll put my top back on. And my last job, when the camera's been put off, is probably going to be to put the label on the top with all the ingredients and the date.
Right. Okay then. Thanks a lot for that, Nigel.